Colton Herta is now signed as a test and reserve driver for Cadillac's upcoming 2026 F1 team for next year, and I couldn't be more confused. He vacated his seat in IndyCar and it's already been taken by Will Power, and he's rumored to drive in F2. But is this really all the right way to go? Does it really make sense for a 25-year-old established driver to be doing all this at this point in his career? Before we go into his current decisions, I'm aware many people watch Formula 1 and not IndyCar, so let me give you a little preface on Colton Herta. Herta spent most of his time aiming at IndyCar because his father, Brian Herta, was an IndyCar driver himself. From the get-go, he was quick in Indy Lights and made his IndyCar debut in 2018 at just 18 years old. He got his first full-time drive in 2019, and that same season, he became the youngest ever winner the series had, still at 18 years old. Then, he moved to Andretti, and he's been their golden boy ever since. 9 wins, 19 podiums, and 16 poles. Herta's been a solid staple for the team, and he finished last year's championship in second, only behind Alex Palou. But to get a full gauge on how valued he is in the world of IndyCar, let me let you in on a fact. Colton Herta is IndyCar's highest paid driver. Not 4 championships in 6 years Alex Palou, not the 6-time champion Scott Dixon, and not the recent Indy 500 back-to-back winner a couple years ago Joseph Newgarden. Colton Herta is valued the highest. The reason for that's obviously the potential people think he holds, and that's been apparent in both IndyCar and F1 in the past. This actually isn't the first time Herta's been linked to a position to be in an F1 team, and as a matter of fact, it's the fourth. Back in 2021, when Andretti attempted to purchase the Sauber team, Herta was linked to a drive for Alfa Romeo in the 2022 season. He got a seat mold done and did sim tests in the base in Switzerland, where he was rumored to have gone faster than both Kimi Räikkönen and Antonio Giovinazzi. The deal eventually fell through though, as Andretti didn't end up purchasing the team and Herta's runnings were cut short, but this wasn't the end. In 2022, Herta was signed to McLaren as a development driver to test the car, but this never had links to him getting a full-time drive, as the team was solid with Norris and Ricciardo at the time, but it did give him actual car experience in testing the 2021 McLaren car in Portimao. His third venture was definitely the most serious, with him actually being the frontrunner for the open seat at AlphaTauri in 2023, after Pierre Gasly moved to Alpine. The main issue with this was that Herta didn't have the super license points, but Red Bull still pushed for the exception and didn't end up getting it. Either way though, it did show the large amount of interest that they had in Colton Herta, and how he really was their first choice over Nick de Vries, who they ended up signing. He also did end up getting more in-car experience at this point in an Alpine test, which Red Bull advocated for him to get more super license points. After all this, you wouldn't be surprised that he got that test driver deal inked with Cadillac. But the part that surprises me more is the move to F2 to prepare for what is likely a full-time F1 seat in 2027 with Cadillac. Now at the time of recording this, Herta isn't officially announced to be driving in F2, but many sources are pointing in that direction, and it's looking more and more likely that that's the deal that's going to get done, and I really don't get it. Now, Herta wouldn't just give up his IndyCar seat if there already wasn't a plan in place. And I'm assuming that he isn't just going to take the season fully off and fully commit to the test and reserve driver role, because he could have just done another season in IndyCar alongside that. Other reserve drivers like Ryo Hirakawa and Felipe Drugovich also compete in WEC, but that's most likely off the table for Herta because IndyCar offers a better experience for F1. Formula E is also another interesting idea considering Andretti has a team there, but I really do doubt that that's the case because they aren't very similar at all, and Andretti has 2 drivers locked down there in the form of Jake Dennis and Nico Muller. The only other idea that crosses my mind is Japanese Super Formula, as the cars are more highly tuned than F2 cars are, and that's closer to F1, but that would require Herta to be in Japan, which would make the testing for Cadillac a lot tougher. With that being said, all the roads point to F2, and although that's the move that seems like it's going to be made, there really isn't much going for it. I will say the main advantage of F2 for Herta will be getting used to the Formula style cars, even if it's not really close to F1. Also, the tracks he'll be racing on can translate well to once he's in the series because they're all going to be utilized and help him get used to the style of European road courses. Furthermore, the adaptation of using both Pirelli tires and getting used to FIA regulations will be a step in the right direction, because the Firestone tires used in IndyCar are a lot different, and the FIA rules are much different in certain aspects as well. I think the biggest change is going to be on strategy, as Herta's used to fueling on every stop and managing fuel as well as tires, So the overall way you look at a whole race will be completely different strategy-wise. The other benefit F2 has to do with the super license. Like I said earlier, Herta's only been held back in the past because of super license points, mainly due to the fact that IndyCar offers less super license points than other series, if you aren't the champion. Herta will be at 34 points in his super license come the end of the year, and he needs 40 to qualify to be in F1 next year. F2 offers a better opportunity to get the remaining points, but it's not the main reason for the move, as he could easily achieve that by finishing 6th or above in IndyCar, or even driving in some FP1 sessions next year. Although the positives for F2 are strong, joining F2 isn't all sunshines and rainbows for Herta. The first big drawback that I'm concerned about will be what competition is like for Colton. Not saying that the drivers he'll be going against are going to be bad, but it's definitely a step down from the competition he faced in IndyCar of experienced drivers to now young drivers, and Richard Verschoor, who don't really have nearly as much experience as Herta, who has raced at a top level series for 7 years. I could be looking back on this in a year's time and look like a complete idiot for saying this, but I do just believe Colton Herta is better than the F2 drivers that are there right now. Like, come on, from Alex Palou to Emery Cordial, there's a reason so many guys go from F2 to IndyCar and not the other way around. Also, it's not like he hasn't driven the F1 cars. He had all those tests that I mentioned earlier, and even though tests aren't equivalent to wheel-to-wheel racing, most F1 rookies don't have nearly as much exposure to F1 machinery that Herta's had, yet no one bats an eye. In general, this whole move to F2 and planning for a full-time seat in 2027 seems to be going in a direction where Cadillac and Colton Herta are very confident, and that makes me feel like there's something that they know that we don't. It could be something small, or more likely than not, it isn't anything at all, and they just believe in what they're doing a lot. But either way, this opens up a lot for the 2026 season with all three series that are affected. First with IndyCar, how's it going to be without Colton Herta? It isn't like he was the championship favorite or anything, but it will make a big impact on the IndyCar series seeing him leave. Second would be with Herta in F2. How can he perform? Will he be able to adapt well? Or will we see what all the European motorsport superiorists will think and he will flop? My bet's for him to win next year's F2 title, but only time will tell. And finally in F1, the two Cadillac drivers of Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez are really going to have to drive as best as they can to see which driver will be alongside Colton Herta. It makes a lot more sense why Cadillac would make the two signings to be two consistent and veteran drivers, because they plan to keep one of the better of the two to put next to Herta. Herta's signing also brings a lot more eyes to both F1 and F2, as a lot of American motorsports fans who don't watch the series could be open to watching it now that a driver who was made through the American motorsport system is there. I'm really hoping this brings more attention to F2 specifically in the USA, because a couple of years ago F2 got put behind a paywall on ESPN Plus, and hopefully some more attention can make it free again to watch, because I do not want to be paying that. Personally, I think Herta is a generational talent in the world of motorsport and has some real potential to shock some people once the chance is given to him. I think not only can he prove that he is the real deal, but it'll also give us a direct comparison between IndyCar and F1. No matter what, there's so much to unpack with this entire situation, yet the truth is, no one's really going to know what it's going to be until we go racing next year.